Thank you. Good evening and welcome to the regular meeting of the Manchester by the Sea Conservation Commission. This one for April 29. We hold these under the auspices of the Wetlands Protection Act of the Commonwealth and also our local general wetlands bylaw. And we do them on Zoom in consistent with ongoing regulations from the state and for the convenience of our citizens and applicants and their consultants. The ground rules are the same as every week for the past 4 or 5 years, which is that we are recording this, and you're free to use video if you want that to go into the recording, or shut off your camera, but please keep yourself muted until it is time for public comment and you indicate that you have something to say. You can indicate digitally, raising your hand in Zoom, or you can do it physically. And please limit your comments to 2 minutes. Begin your comments by identifying yourself by a name and affiliation or address. Don't use the chat function for anything other than technical issues because it does not become part of our permanent record. As I said, there will be occasion for public comment during this meeting, and I'll recognize interested parties for questions or comments at that point. Lastly, every vote we conduct tonight will be by roll call. And now let me begin by calling the roll of the commission and staff. Ms. Sari O'Season.
Here.
Dr. Olga Hayes.
Here.
Mr. David Lumsden.
Here.
Dr. Henry Ottinger.
Here.
Dr. Jeffrey Bodmer Turner.
Here.
And Dr. Gordon Turner.
Here.
Wonderful. All present and accounted for, and we will begin. With notices of intent. The first one is a continuation. Mass DEP 39-926, 48 Central Street, map 44, lot 19. Applicant Richard Bedell, and the applicant has requested a continuance to our next meeting,
Yes,
which will
Henry?
be, pardon? Say again?
I think Henry has something to say.
Great, yes.
Thank you. Thank you for recognizing me. Steve, could I read? We received a copy of an email regarding the case. I feel like I would like to read that into the record if I may.
Okay, we've opened the hearing on it, and I see no reason, any objection from anyone present?
No, Mike DeRosa here, DeRosa Environmental, so I guess that would be okay, because I'm the representative for that one, so we had continued it. So I think technically there shouldn't be any discussion on it, but I'm not sure if just reading something into the record matters. It may not.
That's what
We have copies of this already, Henry.
We have copies. Did the applicant Mike receive a copy of an email from Chuck Dam DPW to Mark Resnick, dated April 15, 2025?
Yes, we have copies.
Has everyone received a copy of that?
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm just asking Mike.
I haven't seen it, but that doesn't mean our team hasn't. Because we continued tonight, so we didn't, yeah. We
How
didn't
about this,
really
Mike?
prep.
Would you like this read into the record? Yes or no?
I think that would be fine. I don't know what it says yet, but we
It's
can get
short.
it in the record and then we can discuss it on the 20th. How about that?
Yeah. Steve, all good?
Perfect.
So this is an email from Chuck Dam to Mark Resnick, dated April 15, 2025, 3:30 p.m. It says, "Hi, Mark. We reviewed the proposed garage and took a site visit to 48 Central. We are not in favor of any additional encroachment on the site within the existing easement. Even with proper mitigation, the town would have no ability to service and/or replace the sewer main in the future. We have needed this access in the past, and the vulnerability of this area makes me think we will need it again. Unfortunately, it's a very tight spot with already limited access. Thanks, Chuck. And that is all.
Thank you. Any
Thank
other
you, Henry.
comments before we vote on continuing? This vote, actually, we should settle the date of our next meeting before we take this vote and any other continuations. It had been set for May 20th, but as Jeff has pointed out, that's an election day, and we cannot hold a hearing on election day or a meeting. So it's proposed to move it 2 days later to Thursday, the 22nd. Is that doable for a quorum? Raise your hand if you can do Thursday, May 22nd. I see 3 and 1 absence, and I can't see Gordon, so.
Sorry, I'm not able to raise my hand, Steve, but I believe I can make that day.
Okay,
And I will not be able to make that day, but would not have been able to make the original date either.
thank you, Jeff. Is that a question or an
No.
assent?
I'm on.
You're an assenter. Perfect. So I move we continue 48 Central Street to our next meeting, May 20.
Second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in
20
favor?
seconds.
May 22nd. Thank you. All those in favor, Jeff,
Yes.
Olga,
Yes.
Gordon,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Henry,
Aye.
Sri.
I abstain since I won't be able
I
to.
am a-
vote.
Thanks. I am an aye. So it is 6 in favor, no opposed, 1 abstention. It's continued. Thank you. Next is a continuation of 30 Mill Street. The applicant is Louisa McIntosh.
We need to close the vote on continuing the 48 Central until the 22nd, don't we? Didn't we just,
What else would-
our vote just now was to move our meeting to the 22nd? Or did I get that?
I believe he asked to move to postpone until the 22nd.
Yes. What I was doing was straw polling the commission to be sure that the 22nd was workable. Since
Okay,
we're in public hearing, it's a technical thing, but the motion was about continuation.
okay.
not-
I merged the two together.
Yeah, so
Sorry.
had I for a moment. All right, now we're on to 30 Mill Street, DEP file 39-928, map 37, lot 22. In this case, again, the applicant has requested a continuance. And I so move
Second.
to our May 22nd. Thank you. All those in favor? Henry,
Aye.
Sri,
Aye.
Olga,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
David,
Aye.
Gordon,
Aye.
and the chair is an aye as well. Unanimous. Thank you. Now we have a new NOI at 35 Coolidge Point, DEP file number 39-930, map 30, lot 28, from Rocky Winds LLC. Sounds like a boxer. This is proposed reconstruction of an existing stairway and construction of a new patio and fire pit located within coastal bank and land subject to coastal storm flowage. And we will stipulate that the notice was published unless there's any objection.
Yes, it was published.
Thank you. Hearing none.
Do you have to
um,
put a notice on this one? It's new, right?
Yeah.
Yes, that
Yeah,
was the purpose of
Oh,
this
okay.
stipulation. Who is here on behalf of this?
For the record, Mike DeRosa, DeRosa Environmental, and I will share my screen. We can all see.
Mhm.
So we have file number, as Bethany had put on the agenda, no comments yet. So that's a good thing. Let's see, hold on. So this is where we are. We're out at 35 Coolidge Point Road. At the end of the road. Oops. Everything's out of sequence here. We're at the end of the road. Summer Street is here, and then Coolidge Point Road. We're right out at the point. The project is threefold, actually. There's an old stairway here, which I'll talk about, and then we'd like to put a patio in here next to this giant ledge piece in between these trees. And I'll get into the details in that. Because we're in the subzones or in the no disturbance zone here, we proposed it's like 3.5 to 1, I think, is the ratio of restoration within the no disturbance zone over on this side of the property. We had to find a spot big enough that was in the no disturbance zone. So essentially here, let me zoom in and show you a picture of the site. This is the house. This is the ledge. Top of Coastal Bank. We'll talk about is in and around here. This is the stairway that exists now, which is in disrepair. It's really, we walked down it, but we had to walk on the stringers because the steps are not in good shape.
And that leads to what, Mike?
That leads to just some ledge and access to the water. It's been there for a long time. I think it goes back to the 20s or 30s anyway. We have some old photos of that. And then the other thing is to put a porous patio here, which I'll get into the details there. But those are the two project elements. The pervious patio and some of the stairway going up to the patio from the stairs is 477 square feet. Hancock Associates did all the engineering, and they prepared all the plans. I forgot to mention that. So it's the construction of the patio, the removal of the existing stair, the replacement in the same footprint. We're not changing the footprint at all of the width of the staircase. And then the native species planting plan, 1,710 feet. The porous patio, I'll zoom in on, well, let me just go to the plans, I guess. Oops. I want to zoom in and show you the cross section. So we have a minimum of 1-inch spacing between the bluestone or whatever this hard stone is going to be. I think it's going to be granite or bluestone. We're going to have pea stone infiltration joint. Pea stone or rice stone is typically used. So that's a very porous, so water can get in there. There's no seal here or anything. It's just open stone into the reservoir stone, 3/4 inch stone, and that'll be down to, and that's 8 inches minimum. And then that'll go onto the compacted subgrade, which in some places here is probably going to be ledge as a practical matter. I did want to show this because we had Hancock do the profiles that CZM has specified in their guidance document to coastal resource areas. So they did the profiles to show to determine the coastal bank. So let me zoom in here and show you what we're thinking of. So this is the footprint of the existing stairway, which will be the same. We're proposing to use the same footings. They're going to be inspected by the contractor, and if they need to be replaced, they'll just be replaced in the same place and pinned to the ledge. this whole gray area here is just exposed ledge above mean high. Mean high is down here. And then there's the FEMA 100-year floodplain is up here, which is velocity zone, elevation 18. So we'll just replace those stairs and then have a like a level boardwalk kind of connector to some granite steps up elevation 41, which is elevation 41 is where this patio will sit, which is a flat lawn area right now. Because you can see we're in the where's my because we're in, this is the no disturbance zone, portions of the patio are within that. We need to mitigate for that square footage, the no disturbance zone and no build zone, which is here. And that's where we came up with 3.5 times. So we're at 1,700 square feet for the mitigation plan. We looked at alternatives. Let's scroll down to that. It's tough alternatives because there's not a lot of place to go here. The stairs, I figured, are just going to be within the same footprint. That's the easiest and least impactful way of doing it. Obviously here, no secrets where, you know, we want to take advantage of the views out over the water. We could pull it back into this area, which is in lawn, still within the no build zone. So we still have the same issue with impacts, and we would have a walkway that would get us there. So we would have additional impacts. So it seems to make sense to have this be the spot. This is a big ledge. We can't do anything over there. And the septic system is here. And this area is just too far back. And there's LP gas tanks here too. Forgot about those. So that seems to be where we want to be. And I'm sure you guys are going to want to do a site walk. That's what you like to do. Let's see, these are the stairs. I can zoom in on them.
Anybody come up
So
with any questions?
there's big concrete supports here, so we're planning to use those. I'm sorry, did someone ask a question?
I was just wondering if anyone's come up with any questions for Mike.
I have a question.
Could we hold our questions until the site visit by any chance?
Yep,
Uh,
I think you want to see it. I think definitely, so.
Jeff, is this a question that can be answered at the site visit, or should it be answered now?
It would just help to clarify so that I'm clear when I go to the site visit. Is the top of the existing stairway going over the cliff edge, is that being extended with new construction to reach out to the proposed patio?
So it won't go to the proposed patio, but here, I'll get it so you can see it here, I think. I don't know what this is. There's so much new stuff popping up on my screen. How do I get rid of it? So this is the top. We're right at about it's about elevation 35, it looks like, right there.
Right.
The top of the where the patio is up at elevation 41. So we need to do some granite steps to get up there. And then we were just going to continue like a kind of a boardwalk, but just a timber surface. It's going to be made out of ipe. So it's going to be, it'll hold up in the weather. And it'll just be a level platform to the first steps and then up to the patio.
So from the edge of where that gate is
Yeah,
to the bottom of the proposed granite steps and the granite steps, that's all new construction.
yes, this is new, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Henry, for indulging me.
Any comments or questions from the public? On 35 Coolidge Point Road. All right, hearing none. Commission inclined to take a site walk here?
Yes,
Absolutely.
please.
In terms of schedule, how's Saturday morning, which has become our habit?
Sounds good.
I'm not available, Steve. Actually, any day this week until next week. I'll be in California.
I'm also unavailable this weekend, Steve.
All right, Gordon and David not available, but everyone else okay?
I'm good.
Is Friday morning available for people instead?
Yes.
Not me.
Okay,
Not for David, no.
okay.
But David's not Friday or Saturday. So,
Correct.
No,
How about 8:30 on Saturday morning at 35 Coolidge Point Road?
all
Good.
right.
Mike, will the abutters or other members of the public be welcome or not?
I can check with my client. I don't think there's a problem there.
Hey,
but I'll
Mike,
check.
it's Larry. I was able to log in. I was having technical difficulties there for a little bit.
Hey, Larry. Larry's
but-
the applicant and the property owner, everyone.
Yeah.
Great.
Hello, team.
Welcome.
Just the team. Hope everybody's well. Yeah, come on over. What are we doing? Saturday at 8:30.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll try to not make a ton of noise in case anybody's sleeping in.
No, we'll get back. We're not there right now, but we'll get back there. And
Okay.
we'll either on Friday night or Saturday. But yeah.
Thank you very much. Let me then move that we continue this hearing to our May 22nd meeting and schedule a site visit for 8:30 a.m. on Saturday, May 3. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor, Henry,
Aye.
Gordon,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Olga,
Aye.
David,
I,
Sari,
Aye.
and I will make that unanimous. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Larry. See
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Larry.
you on Saturday.
Thanks, team. See you then.
This brings us to another new notice. Sorry, this is this is new after the fact notice of intent. DEP file 39-931 at 37 Bennett Street, map 28, lot 30, Stephen Wood. This is proposed renovation of an existing outbuilding and maintenance, continuation of a seasonal gazebo already present within 200-foot riverfront area. And once again, we'll stipulate the publication for the record of the public notice of this public hearing.
It was posted.
I know it was. Mike, are you
Yes.
on for this one?
I am. Thank you, everyone. Mike DeRosa, DeRosa Environmental, representing Steve Wood, the owner of 37 Bennett Street. I'll share my screen again. Again, we have the file number, no comments. This is a project, it's an after the fact notice of intent. Let me scroll down and show you some pictures. So this is the garage in the back of the house, the main house. That's the subject of this work. it was started without a permit, so the builder had started doing the renovations of this. The bottom part is going to be this section is going to be a garage for an electric vehicle with a charging station. The upstairs piece is going to be an artist studio. Steve is an artist. He's a portrait artist and landscape artist. So he's that's going to be his art studio there. And then the back piece is going to be sort of a, well, it will be like a garden shed for lawnmower and snow blower and rakes and equipment like that. So that's the function of it. This is no longer there, and there's a new concrete pad there, which I'll get to. And let's see. So that's the, those are the project elements. Oh, the other piece is there's in the back, and I'll show you on the plan, there's a sort of a, it's a metal framed gazebo that is seasonal. Steve puts a cover on top of it in the summer and screens it in. So this is what it looks like in the summer season. It's not on any support, so it's just sitting on a bark chip ground. And this is the little foot trail that gets to it. And it's sort of a nice, it's a great place. We can see it when we go to the site. But it's a nice little secluded spot for meditation and hanging out in nature. It's really kind of a cool spot, but it's just, you know, a metal frame thing. There's nothing really substantive to it. Let's go to the plans. So here we are. This is Bridge Street coming down here. And Bennett is here. And we're right on this. It's an unnamed, and it is perennial stream. This is the USGS, so it shows you that thick line. This is an example of an intermittent stream, and this is the example of the perennial. So you can see the difference in the thickness of the line. So we are within riverfront area here. And here's the site plan. So Donahoe Survey did the site plan. We did the wetland delineation. We have added erosion control. So here's our resource areas. We have the river, which is very much channelized. It's a granite block channelized stream, which flows under Bennett Street and then under Bridge Street and out into the salt marsh. We have the 30-foot no disturbance zone from there, the 50-foot no build zone, the 100-foot buffer zone, and the first 100 feet of the riverfront. Let me zoom in closer. The way this worked out, so this is the building that I showed you where the studio is going to be and the car charging station there. And then this is the new concrete patio here, which extends, the former patio sort of came straight across and it sort of extends out here. There's a tiny little bit, and I think it's like 4 square feet that's within the no disturbance zone or no build zone. So it's the thickness of the line, and I think in the report I call it a drafting. It's basically an artifact of the drafting of the line. So we didn't propose any restoration as part of this. Strictly speaking, for the 4 square feet, I thought that we would ask the commission first, not a waiver necessarily, but relief from that requirement. And then this area is outside the no build in the outer buffer zone. So that's it. We've added erosion control here just as a limit of work. This is all lawn area and crushed stone now and was before. He's halfway through building, so we'd really like to get this wrapped up and put together. The site's stable. There's no issues with that. And I think that's it. Oh, I
Is
wanted to
there
show
any-
you where I wanted to show you where the gazebo is. That's over back over in here. And we'll see
Is
that
there
when we
any
do the sidewalk.
Net increase in impervious?
Let me go back. I can't think of it off the top of my-
And then Henry has a question.
Yeah. There's less than
60,
yeah,
approximately
4 square
67
feet.
square feet of new impervious.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah.
Thank you. Henry?
Yeah, Mike, I just noticed that your applicant's at the meeting with us. How did this work get started without proper approvals? I'm just curious.
I think, I don't know. Steve, you want to take that on? I think he just started work and.
Yes, can you hear
like
me?
most-
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead,
Okay,
Steve. Yeah.
yeah, no. Well, what happened was, you know, I bought this house fairly recently, and I always had it in mind to build an art studio there in what was formerly the sort of garage shed kind of structure, and it was seriously dilapidated. And so one day I was driving, and I noticed the guy who was working on the Manchester Historical Society, and he has the little pink, you see them around town, it's the pink van, and his workers are all wearing pink. And so anyway, it caught my attention, and I asked him to come over, and he said, "Oh, you don't need a permit for this." And I said, "Really?" He said, "No, you're just fixing this up." And so that's how it happened. It was stupidity on my part to, I couldn't imagine that he would do something like that without going through the proper channels until obviously it was too late. So I feel terrible about it. But on the other hand, I trusted this guy's. He's worked on numerous projects in Manchester. He was telling me all about them, and so anyway, that's how I ended up in this situation.
And Steve, you and I had a visit. So I've actually
Mhm.
looked at this a few months ago. At which point I confirmed that in fact you need a wetlands permit from the Conservation Commission to do this, and I appreciate you following through on it.
Oh no, of course, yeah. No, it's just it's just one of those things. I haven't been through something like this before, and uh, I I guess I just didn't realize it was the onus was really on the homeowner to. I thought he would file everything and go through the process because he seemed very legitimate, and he's still doing work. He's in fact he's doing the work to the where Antique Table used to be. It seems like, he's always working around town, so I was just really shocked that he didn't file the necessary paperwork.
Yes, we had an issue where the antique table used to be as well, same contractor.
Yeah.
And to
Charitable
add the
explanation, Henry,
history,
would
I
be
think,
that
I'm sorry, and to add to your history, Stephen, last fall, probably right after you bought the property, two former members of the commission that live on Forster Road, we saw the gazebo through the woods and were wondering what it was, but then we had our own issues with the Conservation Commission, so we didn't get organized to come and take a look at it. And had we done that, we would have picked up that this was happening. So
Well, so concerning the gazebo, that was just that was it's not even anything that's very important to me, so I don't have any problem dismantling. It's just something I got at Home Depot, and I thought it'd be fun to, like Mike said, just have a little retreat area to read and just to kind of commune with nature out there, but I'm not, it's nothing that's of any real consequence. So if it bothers, it's not, I don't need it or anything like that.
Good to know. Well, what I was saying is that I have been to the site, don't need a site visit, but I wonder if others do.
I'd like to go take a look at it.
I would find it helpful.
All right, would that be acceptable, Steve? And
Sure, yeah, and I just wanted to reiterate, I bought this property, it was part of the sales package, of the realtor. I said, oh, it's a great opportunity to build an art studio out here and what have you, and I thought, well, this is just what I want. So I just didn't realize that because of its proximity to the channel and the wetlands issue that I knew it was theoretically on a flood or is on a flood zone. But beyond that, I didn't realize that it came with a whole set of issues that involved conservation and everything. So
you're-
anyway, it's been a learning curve for me. And I
Yeah.
apologize. I wasn't trying to pull a fast one. It's just this guy, I couldn't imagine he wouldn't do things legitimately because he seems to be, have a thriving business in the community and, has done a lot of pretty large projects here. So,
And
Yeah.
in Stephen's defense, I mean, I think we see this a lot that, the lay person doesn't have the depth of knowledge that people on this board particularly have, or on other boards in other towns. And so it's easy to fall into this trap of not filing for permits, especially for things that you're not in the wetland or it's obviously, wetland. So, but
Yeah, in
Steve's been great
defense
to
of-
work with and he's been very proactive. So
Most
In
people
defense of the
don't have a love
contractor.
affair with the wetlands like we do.
that's right.
I'm sorry,
I'm
could you
saying
say that
defense of
again?
the
I didn't,
contractor,
oh, okay.
I just finished the sentence. I believe that when he began, it was a much smaller scale, fix up a building kind of project. And as happens with these, part of the structure was so dilapidated it needed to be removed and the foundation was not usable. And one thing leads to another, and all of a sudden you're doing a significant amount of work that's essentially new work in the riverfront.
Right.
So even if he had been savvy about wetlands jurisdiction, he probably still could have been forgiven. But all is forgiven because you're here now. We're going to take a site visit. We're going to settle this with your help easily, I
Oh, well,
think.
yeah, of course. No, thank you.
Steve, I have,
How would
That was 9:15 on Saturday.
And
Perfect.
that's fine, sure. Mm-hmm.
great. All right, I'll
I have
move
a
then we
question.
continue this
Wait,
to May
Jeff has a
22nd.
question.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Jeff.
When you purchased this property, was the crushed stone driveway existing?
It did, it was, I brought a little more in because it had gotten very patchy. So it was, a very old, woman that was living here and she really hadn't done anything to the property probably in 20 years. And so I just tried to make it more, serviceable for, practical living and being able to park the cars in the back, for example. Yeah.
Great. And I should also ask, is there any public comment or question on 37 Bennett? Okay, then I will move that we continue this to our next meeting, May 22nd, and schedule a site visit for 9:15 on Saturday, May 3rd. Second.
Okay.
Thank you. All in favor? Sari?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Henry?
Aye.
Gordon?
Aye.
Olga?
Hi.
I'm an aye too. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Steve.
Okay, thank you,
Thank
guys.
Thank you, everyone.
Yes. Mhm.
That brings us to a request for an amendment to an existing order of conditions at 9 Proctor Street,
Mhm.
map 16, lot 42, Mass DEP 39-920. Chris and Christina Comparato.
Hello,
And this
everyone. Oops,
Go
sorry.
ahead, Mike. You explain it better than I can.
Sorry. Mike DeRosa, DeRosa Environmental. John Moran's also here, and most of the team is here as well. I'll share my screen again. This is a formal amendment to upgrade the septic system. We went into the Board of Health, or John Moran did, to get the permit for to start the pool construction. And we all know where we are, right? I sort of skipped over that.
Yes.
But we're at 9 Proctor Street, and yeah, everybody's been here. It's under construction. The invasive species work has been done, and the house is down, and we're ready to start the construction of the pool and then work our way out of the site. And we got into a situation with the Board of Health where the new agent, because it's a knockdown, apparently the way this Board of Health has been working lately is that with a full knockdown, they want you to upgrade the system or put a new system in, I guess, even though this Title V system functions, which is a 4-bedroom system. So John's been working with Wendy and dealing with that at Board of Health. We filed a permit to get some test pits for the test pits for the testing for the septic system. And so this is where we ended up. So we filed for this amendment. There's 3 elements to it, all driven by the Board of Health, or 2 elements actually. One is the new system here in this bubbled area, which is both the reserve and the active system, or alternate here. We also moved the tank here. So this is the new tank location. The former tank location was, I saw it, I can't see it, but it got moved. So we have the new tank here. We get the leaching fields here now in the courtyard space. There were some minor changes to the walls, but you can't really tell if you look at the 2 plans. The house stays the same. Everything's the same footprint. The only other thing Board of Health wanted, we had the infiltration system here for the pool and the hot tub. They wanted it further away from the top of bank, so we moved it back into the footprint of the patio. So it's straightforward. No real changes to any of the plan. Everything's minor. It's just the same system, 5-bedroom system now instead of 4-bedroom. And right there in the courtyard. John's here, the rest of the team's here if there's questions from anybody.
Anyone on the commission?
Anything? Yeah.
I'm comfortable with this.
So am I.
Steve, do we typically, I don't claim to understand the order of the processes for Board of Health or Conservation Commission, but do we typically wait until all other boards have approved to give our approval?
Yes, typically, particularly on Title V reviews for Board of Health. But as I understand it, until the regime change at Board of Health, we were all operating under the assumption that the existing septic, which tested to be functional, would be used. So this is a modification of that, and now we are amending to follow the Board of Health as usual.
The Board of Health, like, just told me, like, at 2 p.m. today, that they haven't approved this septic design yet.
They have not approved it.
So
Of it yet.
Anthony,
I would like to wait
that-
to hear from the Board of Health.
Oh, yeah.
does that mean we should wait?
Well, I think you guys can approve this subject to, so, because
Yeah,
you'll be
we can
doing an
certainly do that.
amended order of conditions. So you could approve this subject to approval of the system by the Board of Health. And if they
Mike, where
don't
was the
do it-
previous leaching field?
Yeah, it was like right next to it. Let me, right here is the leaching field.
Okay.
Yeah, and the soils were good in here.
So I'm fine that we just go ahead and permit it with Board of Health approval
I
pending.
I have a question about whether this septic system is even within our resource area.
Well, we moved it outside the 100-foot buffer zone, whoops, which is this green line. But remember, we're in riverfront area, so riverfront area is way up here, which is the entire site. So that's why we're filing.
So the
it,
resource, so the resource is at the north side of the property.
Yeah.
Well,
It actually
because
surrounds the property.
Coastal
Yeah,
Bank
the
all
200
around, but
foot
Days
river-
Creek is officially
Yeah.
Days Creek is north.
Right. 200-foot riverfront area is there, that red line. So
Okay, okay.
we're way in the outer part of it, but we're within it.
So I have a question. If we approve this based on the review by the Board of Health and the approval of the Board of Health, the existing plan, that's fine. But what if, is there any possibility that the Board of Health could make a modification? And then how does our approval of a project that's modified by the Board of Health, then does that stand, or do they?
Comes back
come
for-
to us again?
It comes back.
Comes back for another amendment.
As this one did, in fact.
That's right.
It might make
Exactly the same.
it might make my permitting timeline a little tricky.
The 21 days.
Yeah.
Well,
Good evening. Hey, Mike.
But it shouldn't, Bethany, because if they approve it with a condition that, you know, and if the Board of Health doesn't approve it and we have to come back again, then we got to file a whole new filing.
Okay.
So you could issue it subject
That's
to,
right.
and then, yeah,
Okay.
that might affect that, yeah.
Yeah, I tend to agree with Olga that the leaching field is not any worse than it was, and the dewatering subsurface recharge for the pool is better environmentally.
I agree.
All right, anyone in the public have a comment on 9 Proctor and the proposed septic and pool water handling systems? Hearing none, is the commission ready to vote on this?
Yes.
Who would like to make a motion?
I move that we approve the formal amendment to the existing order of conditions for 9 Proctor, Mass DEP 039-0920, with the condition that our approval depends on approval by the Board of Health for the revised septic and dewatering.
I'll second that.
Excellent. All those in favor? Olga,
Hi.
David,
Aye.
Henry,
No.
Jeff,
No,
Gordon,
Yes.
Sari,
Aye.
and I am an aye as well. It's 5 in favor, 2 opposed. Amendment passes. Thank you, Mike.
everyone.
Thank you, Chris
Thank
and
you,
Christine.
everyone.
Good luck with the Board of Health.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank
Thank
you.
you.
This ends our public hearing. We'll recess into our regular meeting. First item of business is a short informational presentation by Remco Royker about 6 Old Wenham Way.
Hello, everybody. You can see me?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. Remco Bruker from Bruker Design, LLC in Manchester. I have a project with Christine Stanley, the owner of 6 Old Wenham Way, and she would like to, in the future, build a house on that lot. It's been a vacant lot for its entire existence, changed with owners over the last 20 years a number of times as well. It is along Old Wenham Way, which has an easement. It's really the only way to access that lot, and an easement has been put in place for access to that lot. Let's see if I can share my screen with you.
Good.
Okay. All right. Let's see.
You should have access to screen share.
Yeah, I'm just
Yeah.
trying that. And let me see here. Should be in my documents right here. Can you all see that?
Come on.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Great, great. Okay, excuse that red line there. So this is the larger site. Oh, and the access road is along the road up top here, and this is the Old Wenham Way, and the easement component is right at this dark line right here. Now I'm going to try to take that off, zoom in here. So as you can see, the access is from Crooked Lane onto Old Wenham Way, and we have a new driveway, a paved drive component that comes off of that Old Wenham Way, and then ends up being the driveway to the house in the center of the lot right here. We have wetlands in, as you can see in this area right here, as well as over on the right and the north as well. The areas that seem to be of concern that we would like you to review is this area right here, which is delineated here in the 30, 50, and 100 foot buffer zones. And as you can see, our new paved drive access ends up in that 50 to 100 foot zone. And so that's the gist of the project. I'm assuming we'll have a site walk where we can show you the conditions there, and then go further.
Good. I appreciate getting the heads up, Remco, because as everybody knows, Old Wenham Way has been a subject of controversy for many
Yes.
years now. And one of the underlying issues here is that the wetland delineation may or may not have been done properly. We've never been able to verify it, and it was done by a civil engineer whose credentials we were not entirely sure of, who doesn't work in this area. So there may be need to redelineate, and that could be complicated by the fact that the wetlands are off property here on land owned by the Corsetti family, which has resisted us, as I said, certifying those delineations. So we have no idea whether they'd be amenable to sort of delineation for you. Just useful to keep that in mind, because it would be, for me, a first-time headache and a butter difficulty delineating off-site wetlands. But let's not make that a problem until it becomes one. I just want to put it on people's radar. It's worth noting that this property, like the property the Corsettis brought to us, has frontage on Walker Road. But in this case, there is no question, right, Remco, that you could not access up that route because of the steepness of the
Yes.
grade.
Yeah, that is the difficulty. That steepness, I'll draw on this plan again, essentially happens from here all the way up. It's a very steep slope site. The narrowness also in this area doesn't really allow us to move the a potential road to a more conducive place. It is all pretty steep in that zone. That's why this road or this lot was set up with an easement access from this point, and and that's what made it a viable lot.
Any early questions or comments from the commission?
An early one would be, why is it so wide at the beginning, or how wide is it?
The driveway access?
Yeah, that paved area.
It is the paved area between here and here is 12 feet, I believe we have there. And then we have additional gravel banks to the sides of it.
Okay, so
it's
it's not the highway that the old Wenham Way.
No, that's correct.
Jeff, you had a question?
You go from new paved to new gravel.
Yeah.
To new paved up at the house.
Yeah.
Why those transitions, and why not just gravels to start with?
Well, we have a fair amount of slope to deal with here as well. As you can see, the grade here is relatively difficult, and we're concerned that a gravel drive there, that it would be, in inclement weather and winter, it would be difficult to get up that slope. Once at the site walk, I think you'll understand that. The reason for changing it to gravel is for cost reasons at the moment, and we think, and also it's simply, we didn't want to necessarily pave that much right away. We felt that it was appropriate to have a gravel drive there, and then the paved drive in front of the garage there is purely for turnaround purposes.
Yeah, as far as we know, that's all outside our jurisdiction.
I think it is, yes. There don't seem to be
The beginning
any...
of it isn't.
That's correct. That area is not. That's why we're here.
So how do we know there are no other wetlands anywhere there?
Well,
that was the question, wasn't it? For
yes.
years.
I've walked the site many times. There seem to be, there are flags on site actually that demonstrate really where those wetlands are, including the ones that are noted here. You'll see a few triangles that are wetland flags. So they were on site as of a few months ago when we put this plan together. There are actually some flags even that you could see in this area here as well still. And so the site has been delineated in those areas. And then I did happen to walk the site with Mike DeRosa at one point, and there don't seem to be any other areas that that indicate any wetlands.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Henry, you have a question?
Yep. Two quick things. One is, I'd be interested in having the wetlands delineated by the applicant. And the second is,
Sorry.
question for Steve, which is, I don't know if I'm on the right road, Steve, but on the map that we've received marked gravel road, is there any possibility that in the future we would request that the condition of that road is returned to its original state.
Possible, yes. Just to bring you all up to date, last week we finalized a settlement of the federal court case the Corsettis brought against the town and the Conservation Commission and a couple of private individuals for invasion of privacy and violation of their constitutional rights. But the state court case they have brought against us for denying for a second time their NOI is still pending. And depending on the resolution of that, one of the possible outcomes is that we would require restoration. Yes.
And to what portion of that road would that
Right at the,
perhaps be
right at
ordered
the
on?
start. Well, it would affect the start of your driveway.
It would
I believe
affect,
so, yeah.
yeah, so right at the end of that easement area.
You know,
Right.
we'd have to get on site or look at the
Yeah,
aerial to be sure, but
yeah,
it was certainly to the right, to the east of that, it is significantly wider than
Okay.
we were willing to permit.
okay.
Other questions or comments?
Nope.
Good. Thank you, Mark. Remco, this was very
Sure.
valuable. Look forward to seeing a plan when you're ready with one and delineations and then having a sidewalk.
Okay, so you require more work on the plan before we can have a site walk?
NOI.
Yeah.
Well, as Henry said, we were never certain about these delineations. They changed a bit between applications from the Corsettis.
Mhm.
And the one time we were able to, or twice we were able to do site walks, we saw what are possible vernal pools, which had been remarked on years ago when an ANRAD was issued for that property. Mary Rimmer did the delineation. So I would like to see a redelineation of those wetland buffers. Not so much around the culvert that you have highlighted here,
Yeah,
but to answer the question, are there any other jurisdictional wetlands in or near this property? Wouldn't have to look terribly far because to the
Yeah.
south it clearly isn't, but to the east and north there might be.
right. Now, what if, in the event that we cannot access that land, how would you like us to proceed then?
Well, we would still need to make a determination that we have enough information and
Yeah,
to issue an order.
yeah,
I guess, given that it would not in any way be your fault that you can't access it, we'd want to get a opinion from town council that says we can or cannot rely on your best effort at delineation, which might be what you have already.
right. Yeah, and as I mentioned, there are still blue flags in existence there.
Yeah.
It's just obviously difficult to survey those in visually. They look like they conform to this survey, which seems to indicate the right locations. This area here around that culvert area, those flags, you know, are very close to the road, obviously, and it can be very clearly seen.
Yes, I think our whole issue with this, the other applicant, the Corsettis, began when someone reported that they were doing work without a permit and they'd collapsed an old culvert at that particular little
I see.
stream crossing.
I see.
And there followed a long series of enforcement orders and ceases and desists and applications, etc. Too much to relate here, but I guess I'd recommend you inquire, see if it's possible to have Mike or somebody else confirm these and look for others, and come back and tell us, yes, we did it, or no, we can't.
Or
Okay.
we really should have a notice of intent in front of us.
Yes, that would be part of the notice of intent.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Okay.
you're absolutely right. Okay.
All right. We'll see what we can do.
Thank
All
you. And we'll move ahead to two orders of
Thank you. Thanks for your
condition.
time.
Thank you.
Excuse
Coming.
me.
All right.
Excuse me. It's Bethany.
Hi, Bethany.
I realized I made a mistake. Um, I I thought the 69 Bridge Street was closed for some reason, but you never voted it to close last time.
Is that so?
Yeah, I made a mistake. I'm sorry.
I thought we did.
I thought so too, but I was like looking at Shannon's minutes, like double checking him, and
Can anybody else help me out here? 69, it's the one up on the top of the hill. It's just in the outer part of the 200-foot
Yeah.
riverfront. Good
Steve,
site visit.
in my notes, I have that we voted to continue until the 429 meeting.
Yeah, because, hi guys,
Thank you.
it's Mike DeRosa, DeRosa Environmental. We had the site walk in between, so we had to continue.
yeah. It just
Yeah.
I
Okay.
didn't do that site walk, that's why I got confused.
Fair enough. I got confused as well. So it should have been on our agenda under notices of intent. Apologize about that.
I'm sorry about that.
Um,
So can we go
So-
ahead and vote to close?
yeah, from my standpoint, we can go ahead and close and vote the order of condition tonight. How do others feel about this?
I'm fine with that.
It is listed in its entirety there, so
Okay, so I'm going to recess and reopen the public hearing to take up 69 Bridge Street. Mass DEP file 39-929, map 28, lot 31, Candace and Albert Staton. And this is to raise and rebuild a single-family dwelling within the outer riparian zone riverfront. And I would move we close this hearing. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor? Sari,
Aye.
Jeff,
Abstain.
Henry,
Aye.
Gordon,
Aye.
David,
Aye.
Olga,
Aye.
and I am an aye. So it is 6 in favor, no opposed, 1 abstention.
I'm abstaining
Let's
because I
move
wasn't at the
to,
meeting and wasn't at the sidewalk.
Right, let's move to orders of condition. An order of
sorry about the
conditions for this.
confusion.
I'll share my screen for this purpose because I've done a little writing and maybe some of the rest of you have as well.
You will get the orders of conditions lickety split, I guess.
Yes, this one, there'll be no delay. Okay. I like page 4 because I think the wrong box is checked too on this. It's checked that the proposed work cannot be conditioned to meet the standards set forth in the bylaw. Whereas B would make more sense. So,
Usually click
I would-
B. My bad.
yeah, I would uncheck that and check that. I'm not sure I can do that in Acrobat. And then anybody else have comments before we get to the conditions themselves?
No.
Well,
I'm sorry, this is 35 School Street. That is not what I meant to put up. I meant to put up 69 Bridge Street. 69 Bridge Street has the same issue here.
I'll fix it.
Thank you. On page 4. All right. We have the, as usual, general conditions for 69 Bridge. Interests that are at issue. standard pre-construction and project period conditions. Do we have any mitigation plantings on this site?
No.
No,
We can do without 27,
Okay.
and we can also do without 29 because this is a during construction
Yeah,
condition,
I
not
will
perpetual.
crosshatch it out.
Okay. Post-project is standard, and then we have perpetual conditions here. Just note that the 31 and 34 are duplicates. This one also pertains to restoration or mitigation 36, so that's unnecessary. But the rest seem appropriate. Any other suggestions?
No, those are good.
Okay, then let me move that we issue an order of conditions for 69 Bridge, DEP file 39-92, sorry, 929, as just presented.
second,
All those in favor? Olga,
aye.
Gordon,
Aye. Apologies. Aye.
David,
Aye.
Henry,
Aye.
Jeff,
Abstain.
Suri,
Aye.
and I am an aye. So it is 6 in favor, no opposed, 1 abstention.
Thank you, everyone, very
Brings up-
much.
You're welcome. That brings us to 35 School Street. Map 51, Lot 5, DEP file 39-927. This was demolition, construction of a new dwelling with 2 residences in it at 35 School, corner of Brook Street. This one also has all the standard conditions. And for special conditions, Suri and I discussed with Bethany and proposed to you folks that the applicant shall pay to have at least 3 native maple trees, minimum 2-inch diameter at breast height, purchased and professionally planted at Coach Field as replacements for the aging maples, using either Town of Manchester DPW or Friends of Manchester trees.
I wrote it like on number 27, like off-site mitigation plantings,
Yeah.
3 native maple trees at Coach Field.
Yep.
Right.
Oh,
That
never
one
mind.
refers to the condition that requires mitigation, but doesn't name it. So I thought it was
Okay.
appropriate to have a mitigation condition.
Okay.
And then survivability is important as well.
Okay.
Okay. And these don't need. We have an issue on Brook Street, which came up with the neighboring property when they did the excavation on that, which is that groundwater is just below the surface. Not unusual in that neighborhood, as I can testify, having lived there, and David can testify as well. In that case, they just stuck a pump in the ground and pumped the water into the street, whereupon it picked up all the petroleum that was in the street and ran it into the brook. So I'd like to put no pumping of groundwater into the street shall be permitted. If they find groundwater, they have to find another way to dispose of it.
Good.
Okay. Perpetual conditions, once again, we have a dupe here, 34 duplicates 31. The others seem to me fine. Any other suggestions or comments?
No, those are good catches.
Okay,
For this one, I would just ask someone to please give this new and revised order of condition to Shannon in the morning because I'm not there. I'm in Hamilton, so it can be on time. Thank you.
I will send it to him by email and then call him in the morning and make sure he's got it.
Yes. Thank you. They're all the newspaper and all the certified mail cards are all set. It just needs the
Okay. Let me move then that we issue this order of condition for
35 Bridge.
35 Ridge Street, DEP file 39-927 as just presented.
Second,
Thank you. All in favor? David,
Aye.
Olga,
Aye.
Henry,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Gordon,
Aye.
Suri,
aye.
and I'll make that unanimous. 7 in favor. Thank you. Which brings us to an update on enforcement issues. Bethany, you said you have picture updates for 59 Pleasant Street?
Sorry,
Or is
that was just
that's an oldie.
left over from the templates I used. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Okay, so that we,
Did they ever receive just a letter saying, please remove the wood and don't do that again?
Yeah, she's been talking to is this the one? No, that's the other place. That's 68 Pine. 59 Pleasant, she has received, like, please, I think they have. Have they received a letter?
All right, let's just double check, and if they
Okay.
have not, let's send that out, and if
Okay.
that is
Yep, good.
here in the commission.
Okay, I will.
68 Pine, I've been in touch with the
Yeah.
applicant, Desiree Combe, who, when you get a hold of her, is very eager to do the right thing by wetlands and conservation. So I suggested the simplest thing would be just to remove that crossing. And if it's not a very wide stream, but her kids are young, I suggested putting some kind of natural stepping stone in the brook because it doesn't have a steep bank in most of its area. Stepping stones are approved in trail work all the time, as long as they don't impact the bank or impede the flow. Which she was about to do. However, she had another question. I actually went over there when I was at Newport Park for a site visit. And I noticed that the bridge looks like it might be compliant, meaning its footings are set back from at least one of the banks considerably. On the other one, it's just nestled up against the bank itself. So I said, gee, before you have it torn out, why don't you have somebody who can advise you, a professional, look at it, which I think is the next thing she's going to do. It's very stable. There's no evidence of damage around it. It's not impeding much of the habitat. So I wasn't uncomfortable with her taking a few more weeks to get an expert opinion on it. And that's where 68 is. Okay, that brings us to no minutes for review. No.
Yes, one.
Do you have a copy of it? I
Yeah,
do not.
Yep.
Oh, good.
yeah, it's in the packet, 4-8.
You don't have it in your packet, Steve?
No, I didn't get it for some
I didn't
reason.
get it in mine either.
Hmm.
Well, do we have at least 4 people who've read it? If so, we can vote it.
I read it. Anybody
Anybody
else?
else?
No.
Sorry, I have not.
Okay, homework for the 22nd.
I'll add it.
Read the
I'll
minutes.
double check that Shannon adds it to the packets.
Yes, and just put it in the new folder, the SharePoint, please.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I looked for it there.
Okay.
A couple of other minor things. Oh, well, maybe not so minor. Beaver Solutions has a proposal in front of us for about $2,100 for the maintenance work. This time it is 7 sites they're maintaining between beaver deceiver pipe and fencing to block off beavers. I think it's consistent on a per site basis with what we paid them in the past, maybe a little lower actually, because they're giving us some kind of volume discount, but we need to vote on it. Would anybody like to take a look at this?
No, but Steve, I'm gonna just throw out something that many months ago, I requested that Beaver Solutions look at the whole town of Manchester and make a proposal and present to us on what they felt the whole town needs. And I haven't seen or heard anything about that, so I plan to vote no for any further expenditures.
I know like
Right.
Mark and I went on like an informative visit only on like 3 sites, but not like the town as a whole.
And back when Kristen was in office, I had asked for a proposal from them just for the entire system in the wilderness conservation area, where Sawmill Brook becomes a marsh and goes under Old School Street and under the boardwalk. And so that could conceivably be expanded. I know they're also doing some trapping around Dexter Pond on somebody else's behalf, DPW or Parks and Rec. So I understand your point. Anybody else?
Was that a formal proposal that the commission voted on to
We have not voted. That's why I'm
have them
proposing.
to have them do an inventory of all the town's needs?
No, it was a suggestion, a good suggestion, but was not
Yeah.
something we voted on.
And Henry, I believe you were looking for a proposal, right, from them as to.
As was I. Yeah.
Excuse me, I think I discussed this with them at the time, well, not at that time, but maybe a couple months ago, when we were setting up the site visit that Ethie and I went on. And they did something, they do that when they initially come to a community to try and evaluate where your potential trouble spots are. But I believe, if I recall, he said, well, you know, after that, we've kind of identified things. And then as you come up, as the beavers, you know, expand their range, you kind of address them as they become problems. He said, you know, it's kind of hard to anticipate, are they going to put a dam, you know, quarter-mile down the stream because now they're crowded out where they currently are, or are they going to be a mile downstream? And so, because they're unpredictable builders and very, what do you use the word? Not energetic, but something like that. And so, if I recall, he kind of recommended against some sort of overall paying for an overall analysis because he didn't think it would be particularly helpful. So,
Thank you, Mark. That's good to know. Did you discuss with him the specific issue of the Sawmill Brook upstream of the boardwalk where they did all that work? Because it's the area that Supat's people for years have been trying to maintain, you know, flow by removing beaver work.
yes, we walked in kind of up to,
Yeah.
so that's on School Street, right? At where the kiosk is?
Yes, and Old School Street, the trail, the
Right.
carriage road that goes up past Supat's land.
So we walked down the Old School Street, showed us where all the culverts that run underneath and where the fencing is and where some needed to get replaced. And then we walked over to the boardwalk and we walked down the boardwalk a ways to where there's a beaver deceiver that's
Yep.
Big pipe,
in
yeah.
the big pond on the left. And that's as far as we went because he had another appointment afterwards. So
Then I guess my question stands, which is the upstream portion of Sawmill Brook from the boardwalk to the big culvert that goes under Old School Street, which you didn't get all the way up to,
okay.
and also the culverts that run under 128, which are it's probably worth looking at them at least on the north side.
Mm-hmm.
There is beaver activity there. We just don't know exactly where. And Supat's people, as I said, have been handling it as amateurs for years. I'd like an evaluation of it. Henry, are there other areas you specifically thought of when you asked for a
No, I
wider
cannot
scope?
identify geographic areas. I'm frankly appalled at the way that we've handled this and the town handles this company specifically. It seems
so?
extremely, for lack of a technical term, willy-nilly at the areas they're looking at, when we pay, and what the work is for. And I've never understood it. And I'm just gonna kind of put a flag in the sand to say, like, I am not voting for more appropriations until a comprehensive presentation is made to the Conservation Commission.
Okay, well, I need to hear from you more specifically. What question would you ask them that would lead you to say this is under control, well managed,
Okay.
well planned?
Please let me research that, Steve, and I'll get back to
Okay.
you in a week.
Thank you. Because I'm at a loss to ask them other than say, tell me over the next 10 years, what are the 10 most probable sites for new beaver dams, which they've already said is not really technically possible.
I hear what you're saying. I totally agree. I will get back to you within a week.
Okay, thank you. Now we're back to the thing I have on the screen here. Are other commissioners of a mind that we should postpone this as a bargaining chip, so to speak, with Beaver Solutions, or should we go ahead as usual to maintain these facilities?
They're giving us a price for something that they're going to do, and these need this attention. So I don't want to hold them hostage. I mean, we can ask them to do this townwide thing, but I think that they're very specific telling us what this particular bill is for.
I would agree.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I like that this is itemized. We know the 7 sites. We know they need maintenance. Yeah, I'm not against asking them to come, but I think they've been pretty responsive. So if I'm not mistaken, right, we can probably trust that they'll come and present to us and have a discussion with us about a more holistic plan for the town. And
Yeah, you can always reach us. They usually answer pretty good.
Yep.
I've
They
heard.
have been good at putting out fires. And that may be what Henry's referring to. All right, let me move then that we authorize the expenditure of $2,082.50 for the annual maintenance agreement from Beaver Solutions as proposed. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, and I have a question.
Go ahead.
Where's the funding coming from?
Well, that's an interesting question. Let me toss that back to Mark, because now that these functions are combined, we know the Concom no longer has an itemized line in the town budget that was voted last night. So I'm not sure is the answer.
Well, we do have an itemized lines. Not sure what the final version that came out of, because they don't, unfortunately, and I didn't get a chance to ask, they don't publish the entire breakdown of all the departments line by line, even put it on the webpage, even if it's not a handout at town meeting. Usually it's somewhere, and I did not find that. There was some allocation of some funds for conservation in the proposed budget. I don't believe it was, I know, Steve, you went and talked to Greg about adding 10,000. I
Right.
believe there was a
Specifically for beavers.
yeah, so I believe there was a smaller number, but what made it through, I don't know. So,
Yeah, I've been asking to see, because I would handle my old town's budget conservation wise, and I have not seen like an itemized lines. It's very much mystery right now.
right. So we can get that answer for you for the next meeting.
Good.
See,
Okay.
That would
see
be
what
great.
came out, yes.
Typically,
So-
Jeff, this would come from one of the three conservation or wetlands funds. Usually the one that's has the most discretion attached to it. But my understanding was that we had drawn that down to almost nothing with the big projects we did last year under the boardwalk and on Preston Place on the Onion River. And that's why I had asked Greg for funds to replenish the conservation fund or whatever it's called, the one where we have the most discretion on how we spend it.
And what did he say?
He said yes, but that was some months ago, and as Mark says, there's been some horse trading since, and I foolishly didn't pursue it week to week. I was assuming I would see it somehow reflected in the town meeting budget, but as I said, it's consolidated now.
I'm
So,
very concerned then about voting funds when we don't know where they're coming from. And we don't know what the line is and how, whether the line was replenished.
we've ne-
I think
never-
I think we need this detail before we can make this vote. And I don't mean to hold Beaver Solutions hostage to the disorganization around the funding. But I think that the funding, you know, we're talking about maybe eliminating the lines that we had previously and having one line for conservation. And it's not clear to me what's in that line and how much discretion we have to spend it.
Yeah. I think it's under like a land use budget now, if
That's what
I'm,
it is.
that's
Right, but
why,
the total expenses for land use were about $40,000. And I don't believe that's for the entire department. That's for planning board and everything else.
Okay, so I see what I put in for professional services. I have what I have submitted is up on my screen. So I put $5,000 for Conservation Commission professional services. So that's what we have there. So that could be anything related to that the commission needs for that. That's separate from other like office and dues and all the other things related to running the department. So that's that would be for that.
So we only got 5,000 and that would be for Beaver Solution, for maintenance of our bridges and kiosks, for.
Trees.
Right.
We
So
sometimes pay
that's
for
what
trees.
It's not enough.
so that's what I had proposed in early December. Then Steve went and requested an additional 10. So I do not know what made it through the finance committee. So and
All right, and you said you were gonna find out, Mark?
yeah, I'll find out, but as of like right now, I don't know that answer.
yeah.
We can wait till next time.
Sure, that makes sense.
Good
I would
point,
like to
Jeff.
see the budget.
When did Beaver Solutions submit their invoice?
Last week.
I'll email them that we
As long
have.
as we don't have urgent beaver needs in the next
Sorry,
few
a
weeks,
month
we should
ago.
be fine.
a
They
month
dated
ago.
it March 21st.
It's dated March 21st.
Yep,
Those are
Due
usually
by-
30 days net.
April 21st is the due date.
Right, and we're past
I
that.
think this is a flimsy excuse, but we've never in the past been able to be certain that we have funds when we have allocated money for MACC dues or for other Beaver Solution projects. We just assume that, Dad over there in town hall is going to take care of our expenses.
Which dad is that? The one sitting with us or the one that's sitting down the hall?
No, Big Daddy. Antonio, I think his name is.
Yeah. I don't think Antonio's going to have a clue about such a minor part of the budget for a
Yeah.
long time.
Well, I'll have the answer for you by your next meeting or before that.
Yeah.
All right, would
I should
you
contact-
accept a motion that we approve this expenditure contingent upon assurance that we have access to funds to pay it?
That makes sense.
Good idea.
I think
Okay,
there's maybe
is there a second?
two things we need to know for the next meeting, Mark. One is sort of what was approved for budget for this year, but then the other is the accounting of what all of the different accounts we have are, because we went through this a year or so ago and it was confusing then.
So
Whatever
this
is
is-
approved for next year doesn't start until July 1st.
Right,
We're talking
Right.
about money that should be in the till now.
right,
Yeah.
right.
And whether we have that money in the till, and I don't understand.
But it's also helpful
we
to
do
know
it.
what's been approved
So
just for planning purposes.
Right. So that was the 26 budget. So let me
What's
open up.
the FY 2025?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to look up right now.
Because I've been like
The line
asking.
items for that are in the last night's town meeting warrant. They're
Hmm,
not highly detailed, but Concom had its own salaries, expenses, and
it's like very
Concom.
consolidated. Yeah, we
Yeah.
need like
In
a
the
line
financial
item.
report
Yes.
of the finance committee?
In the budget, there's a comparison of last year and this year. Last year was itemized within Concom. This year is not. It's itemized within the parent land use department.
I'd like to move that we continue the Beaver Solution billing issue until our next meeting.
Which one? The one of paying this invoice, which is under this year's budget, or the one of where we're headed?
The one for this
Yes, this
year's
invoice.
this current invoice.
So I'm looking at what I
I
think
believe
is,
I had made a motion that had been seconded that we approve this contingent on access assurance that there are funds available. If,
All right,
if that's
we can call a vote.
unacceptable to Henry and Jeff, I'll withdraw it.
Call a vote or withdraw it, Steve. There's one of two ways to go.
Let's vote then. All those in favor of a motion to approve this invoice?
Wait a minute. Before we vote, Mark, do you have information about what's left in the till for this year?
so what I don't have what's left in the till. However, I do have what I believe is this current year's budget in front of me, when there is a line item for professional services, but that was to pay Hamilton because the previous agent was an employee of Hamilton. However, there was some gaps. So I believe there's some surplus funds in that that will be left over that we'll be able to access, and that's under professional services, of which you have the rest of the money within your budget is allocated, for things like postage and printing and office supplies, etc. So I would say you probably do, but I mean, there's no harm in, I think, waiting another, what are we meeting in 2 weeks?
3 weeks.
3 weeks? So,
I can.
All right, withdraw my motion. We
or,
don't need to take any action.
Wait, can I?
or if there's gonna be enough money, it's only $2,100 or so that there, if there is enough money, we can then put it through, so.
So we can vote on it pending there's enough money. instead of pushing it off, but
You can. I would just personally,
I
I'd like to
can-
know what the budget is
that
before
is
we do
just-
this.
I agree
Terrible
with Gordon. Let's wait.
management of our funds.
Excuse me. I'm gonna ask Andrea Thursday to give me like, what is this budget? Because I would like to know too.
Thank you.
That's
We also-
fine.
Yes.
We also need a balance.
I think,
in
I
our
think we can
three-
vote to approve this invoice. Because it's based on the FY25 budget. Nothing that happened at town meeting impacts what's in the 25
But Jeff,
budget.
we don't even know how much
We don't
money
know
we
what
have
that
I
left.
is.
don't know what the balances are. Jeff, you
Let's-
raised the concern that we're not sure we could pay this out of any existing line item in the 25 fiscal year 25 budget. I can't reassure you. I don't know.
Steve, let's wait 3 weeks. We're gonna have Henry's report. We'll know what our itemized items for this year and for next year. And we'll know how much money we have in the budget this year and for next year.
Yes.
3 weeks' time. Let's wait.
Bethany, in the meantime, if you have a chance, would you reassure Mike Callahan that this is not any reflection on their work?
No. I will. No, I don't know if I answered
tied
that
up in
right.
our own
Yes.
underwear.
I will tell him that it's not a reflection on him and that we just need a little extra time.
The only other item on my agenda is a project that's proposed in Gloucester to build a waste transfer facility on Condolin Road. Everybody know where that is?
Yeah.
yes,
Reaches back from Magnolia Avenue toward Manchester, doesn't get into Manchester, but it gets very close to the end of our Magnolia Avenue by the railroad and Long Hill. Anyway, Gloucester has been mulling this over. They have a hearing in 10 days on it, and Manchester's Board of Health has been alerted, and so have we through various channels. I don't see any role for the Manchester Conservation Commission in this matter. It's not in our jurisdiction. It's not particularly close to any of our wetlands. It may be jurisdictional for Gloucester's Concom. I can't tell from the maps. It's close. It's a transfer station for construction and demolition debris. And it's going to handle quite a lot of stuff. It's built on the site of an existing recycling transfer station. Anybody have any questions or comments or reasons for us to stick our nose in this further?
unless we have a map and we can see where the wetlands are.
I'll show you.
That might be on our side.
Or are they plasma blasting, or how do they get rid of their waste? Do we know that?
It's just transfer. They're
Yeah.
offloading, sorting, and sending away.
Okay, there's no pollution concern.
Not DEP's given them a clean
Oh.
approval
Okay,
somehow or other. Here, let me show you what I have for a map.
Concerned resident has called me, so that's why. It's on.
Okay. So this is very zoomed in, but this is Cumberland Road where it ends. This is the recycling center. It's basically just a couple of buildings on a lot of parked trailers, and it's where they're going to build. It's a 4-acre site. Somewhere on this, they're doing a 1-acre build. Across the street is a lot of wetland. And you'll see when I dial this up. Yeah, there you go. This is very wet, marshy area. Wolf Trap Creek runs right through here. And then this direction down into Manchester. Manchester is right here. That's Dexter Pond. This is I can't remember the name of the road. anyway, this is Long Hill. Up above the railroad
So-
tracks.
So that you feel like it would be jurisdictional for Gloucester, probably, if there are wetlands there?
It's, it's hard to tell.
Meaning, hard to tell,
It
distance
looks like
or,
about 100 feet from that edge to this property, but I don't know where they're building the building.
Where is the border between Gloucester and Manchester? Is
Here.
the entire, where? So all the wetlands are in Gloucester.
Yeah, well, this is Wolf Trap Brook going back down into Manchester, and you can see the wetlands. We've done permitting on some of these properties. This one, it's mostly wetland.
So it really is Gloucester's.
Yeah, it's Gloucester's conservation problem, not
Yeah.
ours.
I
So,
mean, we've got all kinds of buildings and things.
People
that
have pointed to what if they contaminated Wolf Trap Brook, that would flow down into the marsh here that goes into Black Beach and White Beach, etc. But that, again, that's a problem for Gloucester to handle.
However, we may want to
For us too.
do
What
we
about
ever,
PFAS?
You know,
Would we
what
ever
about
send a letter?
microplastics? What about PFAS? What about, I don't know.
yeah,
would
so,
we ever send a letter to a neighboring
Is
Concom?
it
And
I was talking to the Board of Health agent today. Like, I could call Chuck. That's the name of the conservation agent in Gloucester, and see what they're
It would be
gonna.
helpful. Find out, is it on their radar? You know,
Yeah.
do they look at it after Board of Health looks at it, etc.
Yeah.
Yeah, just so we
What-
are tuned in to what they're going to be looking at.
When is the hearing?
May
May
8th.
8th.
Yeah.
May 8 at
The Board of Health in Manchester is going to file to like speak at, like, to have a public comment at this hearing in Manchester. Just so
Yeah.
you guys know.
yeah, and Lindy, the health agent, and I believe the rest of the Board of Health are very concerned about this project.
sorry, it's Wednesday the 7th at 5:30.
Yes. I wasn't sure until Steve showed that map that it drains toward Manchester then, because that site is just across the street from the wetland you were showing. So, what they don't show on the drawings is it's not a fully engineered site drawing. It's a kind of it's a site plan, but not with all the other sheets that you would find if you were reviewing the site plan there. So they don't really address how they're going to deal with drainage or anything else like that, runoff off the site and that kind of thing. So it may be helpful for the Board of Health, for the commission to reach out to the conservation department in Gloucester, but also provide some comments to our Board of Health so they can incorporate whatever your concern is into the overall comments from Manchester to Gloucester's Board of Health. So
And you can leave that in the new SharePoint folder.
Yay.
Once we get good at doing it.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, that sounds like a useful set of suggestions. So Bethany, you'll reach out to your counterpart, Chuck.
Mm-hmm.
The only time I've ever done anything like that is talking to the folks in Hamilton when the town of Hamilton was proposing to pave Tobacco Road. And I did that. We were working on water at the time, water resources, and that road is very close to our reservoir. And they were very helpful.
All right.
Any other subjects? Not
Yes,
yet raised?
I have one thing while we were talking. Oh, where'd it go? While we were talking, I looked up, I do get a report. The last one I got from is for February, but from the finance department on various budgets and what's been submitted for for bills for each of the three departments. So I have that, but also at the end there's a report where there's three funds here. There's the Causeway Brook Sawmill Brook Fund, and there is apparently $32,000 in there. I'm not sure what any of these three funds are originally for. There's a Preservation of Conservation Land Fund, which has 20,000. And then there is a Causeway Brook Restore at Memorial Fund, and that has 35,000.
And that one was money from the CPC for a project which this has been determined will not go forward. And so that's going to be put back in CPC funds.
Okay.
So we need to find out what this is about, because if we either have a lot of money or we don't have any we can use.
Yeah.
So that's where we are.
Yeah, and who has jurisdiction over those different funds and who can choose to spend that kind of thing,
So
Mark, it sounds as though none of those funds is the fund that receives our share of fees to the DEP, which is called the Wetlands Fund.
Okay, I did not see that in here. That's not the first one.
Right.
Okay,
I can incorporate once I find out the budget, I had this fancy Excel of what I used to track the budget back then. Maybe I can try to incorporate that now.
That would be.
Yeah. Mark, Bethany, a quick way to do this is to ask Chris too. Chris Bertoni was very familiar what all of the funds could be used for and all the ones that were available. So she's offered to help us, worth asking her.
I think I would have to figure out what Andrea tells me first, because I never got anything from any finance, anything. So.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying it's another resource.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, let's make sure that between you and Mark, we get all this clarified.
Yeah,
At
Chris
least
is a
for
good resource.
2025 fiscal year by the next meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Anything else? I made a point in town meeting yesterday when we were discussing the CPC budget and voting it, that the CPA, the act itself, the state requires that 10% of revenues be spent or reserved in the direction of at least 10% affordable housing, historic preservation, and open space and recreation. And that our CPC funds have gone mostly for historic preservation. We have a lot of history to preserve. But when this point landed about 10 years ago, they started sending a significant slug of money every year for affordable housing into the Manchester Affordable Housing Trust, which has built up a nice war chest. They've never done anything like that on the open space side. And I asked last night, is there 10% allocated in the direction of open space? And Greg Federspiel kind of abashedly said, well, we consider the plumbing repairs on the bathhouse at Singing Beach as an open space recreation expenditure.
Steve, did you
not historical preservation.
Jack Burke sent you today, clarifying that point?
No, I did not.
He sent you an email to clarify.
He is on with us.
The answer.
Jack, I apologize for not reading your email.
Good evening, Steve. Yeah, it's important to realize that the open space and recreation budget for the Community Preservation Act are the same budget. There is no difference in open space or recreation in the CPA. So whatever
Right.
gets spent in recreation is considered an open space expenditure also. It should be, you should realize that we have spent a considerable amount of money on what you would consider open space, 250,000 just in November for the purchase of the Greenbelt land
Yeah.
in Gloucester,
Yes.
along with a number of projects in the Western Woods. So there has been quite a bit of money spent in what I would call, and you would call, true open space.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Much appreciated.
And if we have something special, it behooves us before December 1 to put in an application with CPC.
Which will not be the Beavers.
Right.
Yes.
All
Yes,
right, well, are we ready for me to do my thing?
please.
Yes, we are.
Are we ready to adjourn? I move that we adjourn.
Second.
Second.
And seconded. Any objections? All right, with thanks for all your work.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you,
job.
everyone.
Oh,
Look at that.
Bye, everyone.
bye.
Email me if you have any questions.
I'm glad you're gonna get involved with the financial side of things.
Yes.
Something needs to know.
Yes.
Thank-
Bye. Good night.
Bye.